Hi everyone and welcome to this talk about mining constraint regions of interest. So there is more and more spatiotemporal data that is available, and so we need a way to efficiently process these large datasets. The idea is that instead of working with the raw trajectories, we will work with sequence of regions of interest. An example of region of interest is the train station or the popular highway exits. So the general approach is the following. You first divide the map with a grid and you assign a density value to each cell of the grid. In our case, the density will be the number of trajectories that passes through the cells. Then you express the region of interest as an aggregation of the dense cells in the grid. And a cell is dense if its density value is above a given threshold, which is a parameter of the method. So as example, you have on the left the initial set of dense cells, and on the right a solution found by our method. And you can see that we extract the train station as well as some popular exits of the highway. So now let's talk about popular region. So this is an existing algorithm to extract regions of interest from trajectory data. So the algorithm works as follows. You select the cell with the highest density, which is not already in a region of interest, and then you extend it. So you cannot extend it in a direction that do not have any dense cells. So you have to extend it in another direction, and you choose the direction that gives you the highest average density after the extension. You cannot also extend in a direction that would result in an average density below the minimum density threshold. So you extend until you cannot extend in any direction, and then you pass to the next cells and you repeat the process. So this is an example of output where popular region produce a large region at the center, because the cells at the center of the city have a very high density value, and so the constraints are easily respected. So this algorithm is scalable and for most configuration gives very good results, but there is no formalization of the output. It can only generate rectangular region, and it does not accept background information or more specific constraint from the application. So now let's talk about our method. We consider that the region of interest include the dense status of the cells in the grid. So for example, we have two rectangles here, and we say, okay, every cell inside the rectangles must be dense, and every cell outside the rectangles must be not dense. But obviously it makes some errors. So for example, there is one dense cell that is not covered by the rectangles, and there is 4 non-dense cells that are covered by the rectangles. So we want to find an encoding that has few errors. Some formalization for the problem within a G the grid, G star the set of dense cells, and S a set of candidates. So we pre-compute a set of candidates. For example, we pre-compute every distant rectangles on the grid, and it will be our set of candidates. And for every candidate, we denote Ti, the number of dense cells it covers, and Ui, the number of non-dense cells it covers. And we have K, the maximum number of regions we want to find. So the optimization is the following. You minimize the errors of the models with Xi, the binary decision variable to take or not the candidates. So we have this constraint that limits the number of candidates we can select, and this constraint, which is the non-overlapping constraint, that tells that for every cell we can take at most one candidate that covers it. So this is a sum over the candidates that covers the cells. And then you have the binary decision variables. So we want to minimize the number of errors, but what about this model? These models make no error, but it requires 6 rectangles. And obviously, it does not generalize well the distribution of the dense cells in the grid. So we can avoid that by limiting k, but in practice, how do we set k? This is an arbitrary choice. To do so, we use the minimum description length principles that tells us to choose the model that compresses the most data. So you have a given model that is a set of regions of interest, and we denote Lm, the length of the model. Then you have to encode the data given the model, and you have this value that is the length of the data given the model. And so we should select the model that minimizes the sum of the two. So you really have a trade-off between the complexity of the model and the generalization of the data. So for a particular case, we have that each cell is encoded with two integers. So the length of the model, the length of the region of interest, is just the sum of the length of the individual region of interest. So, for example, a rectangle is encoded with two cells, so 4 integers. Then the length of the data given a model, so the length of the grid given the set of regions of interest, is just the number of errors the model makes, because if you have the region of interest and the grid and the errors, you can reconstruct the grid. So if we retake these examples, we have on the left the model with two rectangles. So 8 is the length of the model. It makes 5 errors, or 10 is the length of the grid given the model. And so the total description length is 18. On the right, you have the model that makes no error, but needs 24 integers for the length of the model, and so it has a higher description length than the model on the left. If we use circles, we can reduce the description length to 17, and so we'll prefer the model with the circle because it has a lower description length. Some formalization of that. So we have solved a valid selection of candidates, so a selection of candidates that respect the non-overlapping constraint. The length of the solution is, as we said, the sum of the size of the candidates in the solution. The length of the grid given the solution is 2 times the number of errors the solution makes, so that is our previous objective function. And so the MDL principles tells us that we should select the solution that minimize the sum of the two, so that minimize this sum. If we put that into the minimization, we have this model where we do not have the limitation on the number of candidates, but we still have the non-overlapping constraints. So overall, our method is as follows. First, we generate a set of candidates, for example, all distant rectangles on the grid. Notice that at this step, you can apply intra-heroic constraints. So, for example, we might want to say, I want that every region of interest in my solution have at least one bus stop. So when you generate a candidate, you check if it respects these constraints, and if not, you do not add it to the set of candidates. And then you solve the optimization model. And at this step, you can apply inter-heroic constraint, that is constraint between the region of interest. So for example, if I select this candidate, I do not select that candidate. So now let's talk about the experimentation. So we have 2 versions of our method, one with rectangular region, one with rectangular region and circular regions. We compare 2 popular regions and optics. So for the execution time, we see that our method is slower than popular region. This is due to the fact that we run an solver to optimize the problem. But as soon as the number of candidates becomes low enough, less than 4,000, for example, our runtime becomes comparable to optics. Notice that the number of candidates is way less than than the number of distinct rectangles and circles on the grid, because we filtered out, for example, the candidates that have a description length that would be positive, so that would add value to the description length. Now for the description length, we on the left you have the number of integers needed to encode the errors as a function of the minimum density threshold, and on the right we have the number of integers needed to encode the model given the minimum density threshold. We see that for low density threshold, so this area, popular region have a higher error, have more error than our methods, because as we explained, it will cover a lot of non-dense cells, but as the minimum density threshold increase, our method have more error because we do not cover every dense cell on the grid. And but on the right, you can see that our method always produces smallest models to encode. Finally, we tested the robustness to noise. So we start from a 100 by 100 grid. We compute an initial solution, then we add noise to the grid, and we recompute a new solution, and we compare it to the initial solution. So we have the three classical metrics to evaluate how well the methods perform, and you can see that up to 20% of noise, our method gives exactly the same solution as the initial solution, because since we do not use directly the dense status of the cells, small changes in the density value will not affect our method, and if we add isolated dense cells, our method will be able to ignore them, as well as if we remove dense cells from the few dense cells from the region of interest, it will be still worth to take them. And up to 40% of noise, we have better solution than popular region and optics. So in conclusion, what we did was we proposed an optimization model to extract regions of interest from trajectory data. Our method is more flexible than specific method because we can accommodate a wide variety of constraints, and the runtime becomes reasonable as long as there is not too much candidates, which is most of the time the case in more constrained applications, depending on what you want to do with the region of interest. So the next steps in the process is we might want to extract regions of interest, but without using a grid, because this is an arbitrary division of the map, and we might want to use the density information in the optimization process instead of just dense or not dense. Finally, we might want to provide support for more complex constraints, that is, constraints that cannot be expressed in the linear optimization problem. Thank you.